Andor Season 2 opened with a sexual assault scene that exposed the darker side of Star Wars fandom. The way Tony Gilroy's television show grounded the evil of the Empire impressed me right away when I had the good fortune to see Season 2 of Andor early. As we are used to seeing, the Empire's evil is exemplified by the destruction of planets and the frequent mention of, though infrequently observed, acts of genocide. Season 2 of Andor, on the other hand, offers a much closer look at life under a fascist regime, emphasizing the impact on women. For me, the conclusion of Andor Episode 3 was extremely unsettling. The wedding of the child bride and an attempted sexual assault are two scenes that are subtly contrasted. The Imperial philosophy was popular on the insular, human-populated core worlds of the Star Wars galaxy, including Chandrila. Notice how few aliens await Leia's wedding. Given Gilroy's skill as an author, I am sure that this placement was done intentionally to highlight the various ways that women suffer under fascist governments. It didn't take me long to predict that the sexual assault scene would become controversial. I even talked about it with my writers and asked Liz Declan to write our first response because I could easily see female voices being overshadowed by YouTubers who are primarily male. Liz, who is among my finest writers, also had a lot to say about it. In my call, I failed to mention the specific direction the conversation has already taken, and I want to address that. I understand that the slave Leia costume was designed to evoke some classic imagery reminiscent of Conan the Barbarian, but the meaning, along with Jabba's repulsive tongue lick, is fairly clear. There have been prior reports of sexual assault, and the Star Wars universe is a harsh one. As Liz notes, the big scene resembles one from the classic Star Wars Expanded Universe comics. The fact that the character names are similar could even be a hint that this isn't a coincidence. However, since this is the first time we have ever seen a sexual assault on screen, it is understandable that some viewers are disturbed. I want to start by directly addressing that claim. This is not better than the Empire. A man who desired total control and had no qualms about ordering the murder of children founded the fascist empire. It is an indisputable historical fact that women suffer under fascist regimes and that these regimes tend to concentrate power in the hands of men who misuse it in every way, particularly with regard to women. To use a real-world example, the current resurgence of misogyny in the United States is one of the most evident signs that the wheel of time has turned again. The sexual assault scene in Andor Season 2 has already been defended by some, who claim it captures the reality of war, where rape is a tool of power. Unfortunately, that is not the reality. In that scene, the Imperial agent thinks he is exercising his power over a stunning undocumented woman who is unable to defend herself, but he has no idea that he is dealing with a rebel. The harsh reality of women's lives under a fascist regime, where they are constantly at the mercy of strong men, is deliberately portrayed by Tony Gilroy. It is terrible, indeed. But underneath all of this, there is another question that really needs to be addressed. Why does anyone believe that the Empire is superior to this? Not because I wanted to avoid the controversy of naming someone, but because I think the tweet represents a bigger problem in the Star Wars fandom. I haven't cited it. Because they find the Imperial philosophy and characters a little too appealing, some fans try to conceal the evil of the Empire. We have seen, or, for the most part, heard about, countless acts of genocide in Star Wars. Death camps and torture are depicted in the first season of Andor. However, this sexual assault viscerally grounds the evils of the Empire and gives a face to the suffering that women endured under fascist regimes. I think that some parts of the Star Wars fandom are avoiding it because it's too real, too uncomfortable, shattering any illusions of the sympathetic Imperial, and exposing them to the reality of life under a fascist regime. This, too, is the message of Andor. Fascist regimes may be brutal to women, but women are not powerless to fight back. Given that Bix is Cassion's lover, the Bix scene would have been handled very differently in a lot of science fiction and fantasy series, but Tony Gilroy takes a different route. I think it's great that he reminds people who would take away their power that they still have it.